Let's get weird. I wanted to mess around with milk. So I put milk in the machine, Meticulous Home, and I set it to 55 degrees Celsius. I thought it was interesting that the machine is essentially a kettle. So for smaller volumes of water, you could set it to get to a certain temperature and have the water come out when ready. The mistake I primarily made in this shot is that I put coffee in the basket to try to slow the milk down. And turns out that when you push milk through coffee, it just slows down to a halt. So it doesn't go anywhere. And I tried to purge a few times and it didn't work. So this other shot was made from a decent, using a almost second crack Robusta from Vietnam. And it's a bit on the darker side, but it goes good with milk. So you can see when I do a few purges and try to push the lever to see what I can do, I kind of get stuck. My flow profile was meant for lower pressures and it had a pressure limit, so it kind of halted. But that's when I decided to call it quits and just take out the portafilter. So this is probably a mistake, but I was in a rush and I wanted my latte. And I knew I had to start cleaning up, but I didn't quite expect this. It's not the worst puck explosion I've encountered, but it did look pretty funny considering there's a lot of milk in it. And then I just pushed the milk through the shower screen. As you can see, I used the original shower screen, not the Matrix Nano, because I was afraid of milk getting into the pores. So I would definitely be super careful if you do decide to put milk into the machine. It's very cleanable, much like the Flare, where I've put oil in it before and doing like a test, curious about pushing oil through. Oil doesn't go through coffee, so don't worry. Unless you grind it really coarse, oil is not going anywhere and it's just messy to clean up. But the Flare was a lot easier to take apart. This one, I flushed it, I soaked it, I put a lot of water through it. I actually put so much water that it overspilled on the drip tray and kind of screwed up the scale. So this is the end result. And this is just the milk. Because I needed more milk, so I put a little bit more through. And this is after the drip tray spilled out everywhere and my counter was covered in water. I went on to do some testing with the piston. I wanted to look at flow. I saw this in one of my earlier videos and I was curious about it. The flow seems to go back to the back of the machine, which is problematic. I suggested to Carlos that this could be a pain point. Because you want that to come out even if it's going to the sides, you still want it to come out even. And it fills up fast. So, and then I made some oatmeal. So this is just hot water. And again, it was, you can heat the water up real nice and make yourself some oatmeal or some tea. A fun use of the machine. So back to pulling some shots. So I put the Nano basket back in, and then I put a piece of paper in there to try to deal with this issue. And at the same time, I started using the other buttons on the machine to stop the profile. So you can hit stop, and then it'll just stop the profile. And then you can hit purge, which will push the piston down. And then you can hit start again, it'll pull the piston up. So you can kind of manually control it. And so I worked at doing that a bit. So I did a manual control where I pushed water through after it was heated. I stopped it. I waited. And then I ramped up in my normal profile. As you can see, there's not much crema because I wasn't getting over 1 or 2 bars. I did get to a slightly higher TDS. I'm closer to the ballpark that I want to be in. So I'm at the 14.5 or 15% at, I'm ending up somewhere between 20 and 22% extraction yield. So this ranged from output yields of 1.2 to 1.3. And this was hard to control though. So it was a little challenging, but it was fun trying to hack the machine. So I did it again. As you can see, they're coming out. It's actually water's coming out closer to the machine, which is kind of where it seems to be coming out from the shower screen, from the way the water's coming in. Oh, I made a mistake. This shot and the previous one, I didn't use a paper filter inside the shower screen. The last shot, I use a piece of paper inside the shower screen. This is coming out a little odd. It comes a little bit more even with the piece of paper in there. And then I do a long wait. One of the other things I notice is the shots are coming out pretty cold. So normally my shots from my other machines come out to be about in the 60s Celsius, and usually about 65. But I've been using cooling stones, so then I'm able to cool them below 40. These shots are coming out between 30 and 40 degrees, so no cooling stone required, which is good and bad, I guess. I guess it's bad because it's not, there's something thermal going on that makes this more similar to the flare than I would say like a lever machine with a boiler. So now I popped out the puck, and you can see here that the top has a divot at the top. I suspect that's from water. So I have a comparison at the end of this next shot. So I'm looking again at this to deal with that. So I put a piece of paper in the matrix shower screen. This is as I'm pulling up the lever, water starts to come in. The matrix does slow down the water, and then is able to push it out a bit more. So I should probably do another test where I do play these games with moving the piston up and down without a puck inside, just to see how much water is coming out and what I can do with that. So this is the last shot I did where I had the paper filter in there to try to even out the water. And you could ask why, when I just put a piece of paper filter on the top of the puck, and I think once the water gets there, you have other problems, especially with the matrix, because the matrix screen does a good job at slowing things down. So by putting the piece of paper on the top inside, it's possible to redistribute the water. Possible. I can't say for certain. So there's still an issue here where the water is coming out a little bit slower in the front than the back. Now this one was stopped. If I had more control, I'd like slowly make it go, and like with a lever, and make it stop right when the filter is covered. So I joke that I want a lever on this machine, but there is a dial. So this shot, it's coming out thicker, it's a great sign. And this coffee is all the coffee I was using today is the Finca Santa Cruz, which I got from Carlos at the expo, and I believe it's like a month off roast now. So it's pretty well degassed. And I'm gonna switch back to a Robusta for later tests. So I have a Robusta, I have coffee that's more recent, within a month, and then I have coffee that's like 6 months old, Arabica. If I really want to go to little or no gas. And this shot was good at a nice aftertaste, really a lasting aftertaste, which I appreciate. What I'm really aiming for is a lot of body a lot of mouthfeel. So here are the two pucks side by side, and you can see the divot on the left and there's no divot on the right. So it could have been from me pulling up the basket, but I don't know. I also want to point out that I'm doing a bunch of tests, and I know some people do tests and they make a review video, but I'm just sharing intermediate results, and that I really do believe this is a great machine. And I'm just trying to work out like what is the best things for it, where are there pain points, where are there things that can be fixed now, either mechanically or in software. And I'm presenting this because I think what you don't see is how much content any reviewer records to generate the 10 or 20 or 30 minute videos that they do. And so I'm trying to dump it out there as raw as I can. And, if you have questions, reach out. So thanks.